I mean, you were really fucking close with your guys. How do you maintain that respect as a leader at the same time as getting so personal? As a business owner, I found that that line can be very tricky to navigate.
It's extremely tricky. And that's a fantastic question, Shawn. I think this is the million-dollar question, right? As a leader, you have to be close with your troops, but you can't be so close to them that one becomes more important than the other, or more important than the overall team and the overall mission, or that they forget who's in charge. And I think that's a real fine line because it's different for different people, right? I mean, there's the SEAL teams. I came from the fleet where I was Ensign Babin or Lieutenant J.G. Babin. It wasn't this like first name basis. We worked with a lot of the soldiers and Marines that they were like that. Whereas we're on a first name basis. In Charlie Battalion, I was Leif Tenant. That was my, I'm a lieutenant, but I'm Leif. Like that's everyone's on a first name basis. I'm sure your platoon was like that. Your platoons were like that as well. And but so the line's a little more blurry. But I think it's different for different people when you realize like, hey guys, we got to knock this off and like get focused on what we need to do so we can get this done. And if people aren't paying attention, then like, okay, I'm a little too close. Okay, I need to. I'm gonna have to maybe create some degree of separation, here in some way. So you got to be close with the team, right? I think you got to know your people. You got to understand what motivates them. You got to understand who they are and what they do and what their skills are and what their strengths and weaknesses are and how you can help them, like where they want to go in life, what you can do to set them up for success. And I think that's crucial, for any leader to know. But you do have to like find that balance. And I think for me, as the AOIC, right, the assistant platoon commander, you're like one of the boys, and you're not quite the OIC. You're not the platoon commander in charge. It's a big step up, I think, to go from AOIC to OIC, and all of a sudden like you're in charge. And I realized I probably crossed that line, particularly with guys that I'd gone to buds with, and I was. Or I've been in SQT with, and I had very close relationships with, and we'd go out drinking and partying and hanging out, and you realize like, oh, okay, I have to, like, I'm gonna have to create some degree of separation here. Maybe I go out and spend some time with them. I'm like, all right, guys, stay out of trouble. I'm heading back. But I think it's just trying to create that so that you're close with your troops, you're close with the team, you understand them. You know them. They know you. They know you care about them, but you're not so close that one becomes, more important than the other or the good of the team or that they forget who's in charge. I think it's a tough balance, but it's different for different people. So you have to I think if you're aware of it, one thing that Jocko and I say with dichotomy leadership is even just the awareness that there's this dichotomy that exists. And you have to find the balance is one of the most powerful tools you have as a leader. Because then you can start to monitor it. Hey, am I too close? Am I not close enough? And then you can start to find balance. And you're never going to be perfectly in equilibrium. It's always going to be constantly trying to make adjustments all the time.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. Did you ever vent to your guys' frustrations?
I was probably the chief haterade drinker in Tasky and Bruiser for a little while. If you remember the old Dave Chappelle, the Chappelle show, the Player Haters Ball was one of my favorite episodes. And remember, they just held up pictures of people and they would just like, they'd sit around and go, hate, and just like make fun of them. And I would just throw shade at my chain of command, talk about, I had a great relationship with Jocko. Like we all love Jocko. But the next level up in the chain of command, our commanding officer and his staff, they were always asking for paperwork. And, look, they were good people. I liked them, but they would pile a bunch of paperwork requirements on them. Like, I don't have time for this stuff. We're out here trying to fight the war. I don't need to be doing that stuff. And then, you get questions from, the siege of Sodif in, 80 miles away. The JAG officers asking, about, the rules of engagement and just making sure that everything was followed, precisely. And you start to, it's really easy to get frustrated and get emotional and push back on that. And I'm lucky that I had, Jocko to ask me, is like, hey, does it help you to not have a good relationship with your chain of command? And I was like, no, it actually doesn't. And worse than that, it actually hurts my team. Because if I don't have a good relationship with my chain of command and they don't trust me, well, they're not going to improve our operations, right? They're not going to give me the resource I need. They're certainly not going to be, we're not going to be the go-to unit that they choose to go action a target if they're going to pick one platoon out of the entire team, where it's not going to be us, and so, when I would vent sometimes, Jocko would kind of just allow that and then just ask some questions to kind of turn it back around to kind of think about, like, what could we do to actually lead up the chain of command? Like, was our commanding officer and staff, what do they want? Do they want us not to be successful? No, they want us to win. They want us to win. So if they've got questions about what we're doing, about how we're mitigating risk, I haven't pushed enough information up their way. If they don't understand why this mission's important and they're questioning that mission, I need to actually push some information to them and talk to them about why we're doing this. Pick up the phone and call them and talk them through it. And then the JAG at Siege of Soda, we were writing these like really basic, like engaged military age male, with a AK-47. And the JAG is like, well, every, senior male of the household is allowed to have like one AK, within their home. If you remember, they were allowed to have one firearm. It's like their Second Amendment, because a lot of people didn't have access to banks, and so they had their valuables in their home, and that was how they defended their valuables. So the JAG is like, hey, is it illegal for them to have an AK? And meanwhile, I'm like, are you kidding me? This guy's shooting at us, and you're questioning my decision, but I didn't write that in the report. So that's why he had some questions. And the moment that I put the haterade down, stop hating on the chain of command and telling them they just need to back off and let us do our job, and realize like, oh, I need to push more information up the chain. And we started to think, okay, what does a JAG? He's never sat behind a sniper rifle. He's never looked through a 22 power Night 4 scope. These snipers were operating with incredible discipline, man. Incredible discipline. I'm talking, watching hundreds of people walk in front of their sniper scope, and they're engaging enemy fighters. And we're talking about like with minimizing collateral damage in a way. Sometimes these savages would use like human shields, like children, like hold them in front of them and try to run across the street with their RPG. And snipers like Chris and Tony and others were like able to drop those guys and not injure the children. I mean, amazing. In a way that nobody with a machine gun is going to be able to do that. Nobody with a Bradley fighting vehicle, 20 millimeter chain guns are going to be able to do that. And so I was very proud of our snipers and the discipline that they were using. And I realized that the problem was we weren't describing it in a way that articulated to someone who had never been there, what we were actually seeing. And the moment that we started doing that, and putting that into our shooter statements, man, they were like, awesome, that's great. Keep doing what you're doing. And what support do you need from us? So, I think so often we feel like we're in a hopeless situation, if we're getting scrutiny from our chain of command. And if we take ownership and actually just lead up the chain, it makes all the difference. And I realized, when I was venting to my guys and kind of throwing hate, at the Siege of Soda or at our task group that was, 30 miles down the road in Fallujah, all that does is just undermine my authority, as well. Like that never helps you, right? If you're gonna just throw your chain of command under the bus, that just undercuts everybody in the chain of command. If you do that, it's not good leadership. And the best thing you can do is to say, hey, listen, understand this is frustrating. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put this paperwork together. We're gonna get this done. We're gonna send it to our chain of command because they need this information. And we're gonna do this so we can build a relationship with our chain of command, so that they're going to support us, where we need it. And so when you can talk to your chain of command about the realities of it, you don't have to just sugarcoat something that doesn't make sense. Like, hey, they're telling us to do this stuff. Mm-hmm. It's not fun. It's a bunch of extraneous work that we have to do. We're gonna have to put in a bunch of extra hours. Maybe you have to stay long, stay late or stay over the weekend or whatever. You don't lie to the team, right? You don't say like, oh, this is great, we're gonna do it. Like, they're gonna see right through that. Yeah. What you have to do is tell them the truth, tell them why you're going to do that, and then help them see that you're building a relationship up with the chain of command. You're putting some leadership capital in the bank, so that you're not pushing back on everything, so that when it comes time to really push back on the things that matter, you're able to.